Robert Plank Show, episode 225. Get Publicity and PR Leads with Dan Janal. He is one of the founding fathers of internet marketing and publicity. He wrote one of the first books on internet marketing back in 1994, and he taught the first internet marketing class at Berkeley and also taught internet branding at Stanford. And he now focuses on helping clients build their brands so they can sell more products and services. USA Today called Dan Janal a true cyberspace pioneer, and through his coaching and consulting services, his clients have been featured in nearly every major newspaper and magazine, including the New York Times, Forbes, Fox Business, and the Wall Street Journal. And he's the author of 8 books, including Reporters Are Working for You and Internet Marketing Confidential. So, Mr. Dan Janal, welcome to the program.
Hey, thank you very much. It's great to be here, Robert. Thank you.
I am glad that you're here. And so, among all the things you do, like you teach people how to do press releases and publicity and Facebook ads, from my understanding. So, can you kind of tell us, in your own words, what is it that you specialize in, and what's hot on your mind lately?
Cool. Well, I've been helping people get publicity for the last 16 years, and that's a great way for many people to build credibility and authority with my PR Leads program. And we'll talk about that ever so briefly because reporters are looking for people to interview, and if they knew that you were alive, they'd be calling you, but they don't know you are alive. So we act as a matchmaker and put experts and authorities and small business owners together with reporters so they get publicity and build their credibility. And it's all about getting traffic to your website. So that's why I want to focus today on talking about Facebook advertising, because I think that's a great way for people who are working at home and people who are starting their online businesses to build a lot of traffic really, really fast.
Awesome. And so, I mean, as far as people who need to be sort of matched up with the reporters, people who need to run Facebook ads, I mean, who is this for? I mean, if someone is not necessarily like a full-time speaker or things like that, like this can work for everyone, even someone who's just kind of making a website or making an app or something like that.
Oh, definitely. Whether we're talking about publicity or if we're talking about Facebook advertising, there are many ways, and we'll talk about quite a few simple ones that you can use right today. Because remember, when reporters are writing a story, they're looking for someone who has experience. So we use the term expert and authority, and maybe some people put themselves off and say, well, I'm really not the expert. After all, I don't have a PhD, or I haven't been doing this for 50 years. Well, that certainly does lead to expertise. But just by working in your job and working with people and knowing what you have a certain expertise that reporters are interested in. So don't count yourself out. I think that's the number one mistake that most people make. They just think that, well, Professor Jones is the world's leading expert on this. Why would why would the reporter talk to me? Well, he'll talk to you because Professor Jones is on vacation and can't be reached, and they need to talk to a real person who's done real work in the real fields right now. So if you're available, there's a really good chance you'll get quoted, just like a lot of my clients have.
Awesome. So always that spot that needs to be filled. And so, I mean, what's the starting point? If someone, has somewhat of a business going, or they have these websites and they say, well, I need to have that traffic, or I need to just, get noticed more. Where should someone start to look at?
Okay. Well, I call my company PR Leads because I always believe that PR leads the way to the next step in marketing and sales. Publicity makes selling easier. So if you use PR Leads and you get publicity, then you have authority, you have credibility, and people are more likely to know, like, and trust you. And in today's very skeptical world, that becomes a must, that people need to have faith in you. So getting publicity is one way to do it. Another way to do it, and this will segue to our Facebook discussion, is to create an authority piece. We call these lead magnets, and these are not long pieces by any stretch of the imagination. They could be like 10 tips on 10 ways to save for your retirement, or 10 ways to raise happier children, or 10 ways to improve your marriage, or 10 ways to whatever. You probably can think of 10 off the top of your head. I'm sure anyone listening here can think of 10 ideas too. Well, you turn those into a thought leader piece. We call those lead magnets, because what we're really doing here is we're setting ourselves up as the authority and building our credibility and taking the first step in getting people to know, like, and trust us when they download a copy of our special report, which is really these tip sheets, these 10 tips that will help people lead happier, more productive lives, and also include your bio and a call to action, like visit my website, and schedule a free appointment or take 10% off or look at our free resources, whatever, something to engage them, to start a conversation, to build more trust and more credibility. So that's what we call a lead magnet. It's really a small digital deliverable product, and by product I mean free. So it's something you can write with Microsoft Word. You can save it as a PDF, and then you can send it to people who want copies of it. And so you're probably wondering, well, how do people know about this? Well, that's where Facebook advertising comes in, because you would buy an ad on Facebook and target it to your preferred customers.
Okay, great. So just to sort of just make sure we're on the same page and make sure that it relates to Facebook ads. So the sort of the example or the case study we're on right now is, so if someone is like some kind of a marriage expert, think of these 10 sort of tips on how to save your marriage, and instead of just giving it away as a blog post, you save it as a PDF, you put it on an opt-in page, you make these Facebook ads. And so if someone was sort of in this space, we're using an example like 10 tips on how to save your marriage, and then they hear that, okay, great, this guy Dan says that having the lead magnet is great, having the Facebook ad is great, but then what should their thought process be as far as like what kind of ad to make, what kind of targeting, what to say? I mean, what should people be thinking after they've made that lead magnet?
Great question. Facebook is an amazing, amazing resource. I went to one of their seminars about 2 years ago, and it just blew my mind. The amount of information they know about people on Facebook is just incredible. It's almost like the NSA. It's almost like a spy service. They know so much about people, and you wonder, like, how do they do that? Do they spy on people? Do they trick people into giving away information? No, just the opposite. People go onto Facebook, and what's the first thing they do? They tell Facebook where they live. They tell Facebook what things they like, what music they like, what television shows they like, what websites they like, what other pages on Facebook they like. And Facebook takes all that information and says, oh, well, you must be a person who's between 25 and 30 years old. You're probably making X number of dollars because you live in this suburb. You've subscribed to these professional services, so therefore we know you're a doctor or a lawyer or an accountant or whatever. And they make some assumptions and they make some guesses, but for the most part, you're telling Facebook exactly who you are. So as an advertiser, as a marketer, let's call our people listening here marketers, you're saying to yourself, well, gee, there are many marriage counselors, and there are some people who specialize in early marriages and later marriages or second marriages or marriages with kids or marriages without kids and whatever. So you can actually go to Facebook and say, I want to reach men or women or both who are married, who are between the ages of X and Y, who either have kids or don't have kids, who have incomes between this range and that range, and maybe you want to reach them because you're Christian or another religion, or you want to reach people because you're in a certain part of the country and you like those kinds of people better than people in other parts of the country. Sometimes people relate better to people who have Southern accents. I don't know, but that might be a consideration. So you can actually target your ad to reach that exact potential buyer for you. So if you want to reach 25-year-old women in Georgia, you can actually say Georgia and that age group, and they're making between a certain amount of dollars. You can specify all of that, and whether they have children or not, and whether they're professionals or not, or blue collar or whatever. You can specify all of that, and then Facebook, through its infinite wisdom, will only show your ad to that kind of person. So you can, the first step really is to figure out who is your target buyer, and Facebook will find them. Then the next step would be, what kind of content would interest them? Is it how to save your marriage? Is it how to have happier, healthier kids? Is it how to whatever? You're the expert, not me. And you figure out what kind of content will be irresistible to them. Then you create your Facebook ad. And Facebook ads are amazing these days. You could have a video ad of you talking for about 30 seconds or so. I wouldn't recommend more than 30 seconds. There are studies done that show that people tend to drop off after about 30 seconds or so. So you can have a compelling message about who you are and how you can help people and how they can get your free report, and then the call to action to go to your website to download that report. And it's as simple as that.
Awesome. Sounds pretty simple. And I mean, and yeah, you're definitely not joking around as far as how crazy the targeting is because there's a friend that we both have, Adam Homey, and I can't remember what he mentioned exactly, but I think he might have mentioned like a certain brand. Like let's say if he mentioned like Cadillac, and he literally like didn't click on anything, didn't go to any websites, didn't like anything, but just by like in an update, he mentioned like Cadillac or some brand, and then suddenly he started seeing ads for the same thing. And even as far as the targeting, I've seen some of these ads where you can target someone who was like who recently came back from a vacation or something because like if someone's traveling and log into Facebook, they're in some other location, they come back and now they're in this new location. So I mean, pretty crazy as far as how narrow it can be targeted down. And so you mentioned all these different things like you can narrow things and ads down by like age or location or if they're married or kids or you can do videos or things like that. So if someone is sort of thinking about going down this route, but they're feeling kind of overwhelmed or they're feeling like there's too many choices. I mean, is there like a default or like a first thing everyone should do in making a Facebook ad just as like a way to get started there?
Sure. The first thing you should do is put your own site up on Facebook. That's the easiest thing you could do. It'll probably take about 5 minutes. And then you have a home on Facebook. So it might be the exact same name as your website or your book or your product or your service. So now you have a place on Facebook to call your own. Many of you probably already do that, and that's cool. So you could post something on your page. So you might immediately say, hey, I have this great report on 10 ways to improve your marriage. Click here and download a copy. And you put that on your Facebook page, and all of your followers will see it. Actually, they all won't see it. That's another myth about Facebook, because Facebook doesn't show everything to everyone. They just don't. And the reason they don't is because they want you to buy ads. So that way you're assured of reaching everyone. So you can post your information piece for free on your website and on your Facebook page, and some of your followers will see it, some of them won't. Then the next step is to boost the post. That's like you're basically turning your post into an ad. You'll see instructions on the screen. They're very easy to follow, and it will let you choose that kind of targeting, who you want to reach, when you want the ad to start, when you want it to end, how much money you want to spend on the ad, and a few other factors as well. So that's the brain dead easiest thing you could possibly do. And of course, your blog post, your Facebook post rather, could include a picture of the report to have a nice little cover image. In fact, yeah, you can go to Canva, Canva.com. It's a free service that will let you create your ads for Facebook. They have the dimensions, they have the sizes of all the ads for LinkedIn or Facebook or any other service you could possibly think of, so you know that the ad size will be correct. Or you could use your iPhone and create a video and upload that to your Facebook page as well, and then promote that video via the boosted post. So that's the easiest thing you could do.
And I like that because that way, people don't have to get stuck in a lot of places. So what you're saying is go on Facebook and make a new page at the same name as your website or your business, and then make a post and then boost that post. That way your ad will be shown to everyone who likes the page, as opposed to just whoever Facebook sort of filters out there. And I want to make sure that everyone got that resource, Canva, Canva.com, to make those graphics. And like you said, you can just take out your phone, film yourself, post it there, and that alone is something that's easy to do. So if someone has taken those steps, I mean, then what's the next thing? They've gone on Facebook, or they've made their lead magnet, they've made their post, they've boosted their post. I mean, should people well, actually, how about this? Like, how much of a budget should someone put in for that boosted post? Should it be like, do you like to do like $5, $100? I mean, what's the usual thing for you there?
That's a great question, but I want to clarify something you said earlier. I don't know if I misstated this, but I want to make sure it's really clear. When you boost the post, when you pay for advertising to boost the post, you can set the boost to go only to your followers, or to your followers and anyone else who has certain characteristics like the age, sex, geography, financial income we talked about before. So you're not just reaching your own followers, but you can be reaching everyone on Facebook who has that, who you want to reach. So, I just want to be very clear about that.
Gotcha. That's
Okay.
a good distinction. Thank you.
Thanks. Sure. So, how much money should you spend? This is really a good question because Facebook, in its infinite wisdom, suggests a budget of no more than $10 a day. And I think that's really, really wise because they don't want you to spend hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of dollars, then find out that your ad doesn't work. So, with a budget of $10 a day, or you could go down to as little as $5 a day, really, if you really wanted to. And then you could test different headlines, different calls to action, and see exactly how much of a response you're getting. And I think that no one, frankly, no one, you, I, any Facebook marketing consultant would tell you the same thing, that you don't know if your ad is any good. You may think it's good, your friends may think it's good, but until you put that ad out into the marketplace and let your target audience see it, that's when you know it's good or not. So you might run the ad for say 5 days. You spent $25 and you'll see how many people clicked on your ad and how many people downloaded your report. And then maybe you change it up. Maybe it's the 10 best things you could do to help your marriage. And then you change the headline to avoid these 10 mistakes to have a healthier marriage, happier marriage, and see which one does better. So you put another $5 a day for $5 into it. So you spent $25 more, and then you can compare the results. We call this split testing or A/B testing. And then you know which ad works better, and then you can spend more money on the ad that works better, or you could test another headline or a different picture and see if that draws even better. So that's a standard part of marketing because frankly, we don't know if the ad is any good until we put it out there, and then the audience tells us whether it's good or not.
Awesome. And so yeah, really cool stuff there, the A/B testing. So you have one version of the ad, you make another version of the ad, and you kind of see what the difference is there. And I really liked how you said to not get crazy with the advertising, just go for $10 a day, if not $5 a day. And so when you're looking back and you're doing that sort of after after days have passed, and you're looking at how well those ads performed, I mean, are you shooting for something in particular? Like if you're saying, okay, well, I got a lot of people got the report or clicked to my website or played the video or watched the ad. I mean, if there's a lot of views on the ad but not a lot of clicks, I mean, do you think that's promising, or do you say clicks to my site or nothing, or like what are you looking for specifically when you're going back and looking at those ads?
That is the $1 million question, frankly, and I'm very, very glad you asked it because that's the second part of testing. So the first part, we're testing the ad, we're testing the headline, we're testing the picture, we're testing the call to action to see if any of those could be improved. But all of those things eventually go to your landing page. It says, here's my 10 tips, or here's my webinar, or here's my free consulting, or here's the next thing I want you to do. And you have to ask yourself, are people doing anything once they get there? So you might have a great ad that leads people to your landing page, but there are typos on the landing page, or the colors are bad, or it's hard to read on a phone, or if anything like that, and you find out that people aren't clicking through, then that's bad. So you're testing your landing page is really the second step. And then when you see your landing page numbers improve, then that's really cool. But again, everyone has different ideas for what success means. So it could be, I want people to sign up for my newsletter. If people sign up for my newsletter, that's great. It could be, I want people to download this free report. That's great. I may want people to buy my low-priced book, and that would be great. Or I want people to sign up for a free consultation, and that would be fine. So any of those goals are perfectly good goals. You should decide what you want people to do, and then you can start measuring and tracking. And over time, you'll see those results, and you'll test various things and see what works better.
Fair enough. And it sounds like a lot of the things that maybe we think will perform well might not, and vice versa. Things that we think might just be kind of okay might explode, but the only way to tell is by all this testing and tweaking. And as you're mentioning, like having a landing page and having a newsletter and stuff, do you have a preferred way of making these websites? Like, do you have a favorite landing page host and a favorite email autoresponder and all that stuff?
Oh, I use a program called Leadpages. It's pretty much the industry standard, although I found out my webmaster uses another service that I don't know the name of, but it's much less expensive. I find it a little bit harder to use, but I use Leadpages. A lot of marketers use Leadpages, and one of the cool things about it is that they have hundreds of thousands of users, so they have a lot of statistics on what works and what doesn't work. So they have a number of templates that you can just download and copy and make your own. So if you're doing a webinar, you could just put your name into this webinar template and your time and your date and follow their layout. So you know that you'll have colors that work and a layout that works and a layout that is responsive to mobile devices, which frankly are becoming more and more a bigger part of the game. Granted, a lot of people still use desktop computers, but more and more people are using their phones and their iPads to go to websites and check things out. So you want to make sure that your pages are mobile responsive, because a lot of people could be seeing the ads when they're checking Facebook, when they're going to work or on the subway, or during lunch when they're looking at their phones or their iPad, and they have to be able to fill out that information. So Leadpages really does work well for that, and I'm sure there are other good programs too, but I like to use that one. And the other good thing about Leadpages is that it does integrate with just about every other email program. So if you're using Aweber or MailChimp or Infusionsoft or One Shopping Cart, it will know to work automatically with those services. So when someone signs up, they'll go right into your mailing program that you're currently using. So you don't have to learn a new mailing program or an autoresponder program.
Awesome. And who wants to learn something new? There's already enough stuff, trapped in the brain of everyone out there. So Leadpages, and if the guy who knows what there is to know about Facebook ads is using Leadpages, then there we go. We should all use Leadpages. And so we've been talking about Facebook ads, and I kind of want to switch gears a little bit in these last few minutes and sort of talk about you. So how does this tie into to what you do, Dan? Like we mentioned at the beginning of the show that you help people with publicity and PR leads and stuff. So how does it tie in with with your service and what you provide?
Well, I've moved with the times as well. I actually do Facebook advertising for a number of clients as well as for myself. So I do write the ads and place the ads and create budgets for Facebook, as well as set up landing pages in this Leadpages service, and work with people's helping them create their lead magnets as well. So I really do all that. I'm sorry you didn't know that, but that's okay. It's a good segue. So I moved with the times as well. So I still do PR leads and I still do press releases, and I'm just offering more services because the world is becoming a very, very interesting place and a different place as Facebook and Google and Twitter and Instagram and Pinterest and a million other programs building trust and getting people to buy from them. So I've staked my grounds on Facebook. Other people have staked their grounds on, say, LinkedIn, and they become LinkedIn marketing experts. I'm a Facebook advertising expert in addition to publicity.
Cool. And yeah, and it sounds like just from your thought process as far as like when you make ads, you make these landing pages, you're always tweaking things, you're always kind of seeing what works. So it makes sense that you would do that as well, and sort of a big picture thing where it doesn't make sense to keep sort of fighting the progress, right? And if everyone else is just doing press releases, I mean, you kind of got to move to the times. So it's glad that you did that. So I mean, so did I hear you right in that that people can kind of hire you for like one extreme or the other? Like if they want you to do the whole thing, is that a thing that that they can hire you for? And if they just want to be coached by you, is that another thing they can hire you for as well?
Exactly. If they just want to say, "Hey, Dan, can you look at my ad? Can you give me some ideas? Am I doing the right thing? Or can you just do this first part of it for me because I know how to do the rest of it?" That's perfectly fine, because there might be people who are excellent copywriters and they know how to write the lead magnet, they know how to write follow-up emails and whatever. That's perfectly fine. We can just step in at the beginning part of the process and show them what kind of ads work or not. And the best website or the best way to reach me is my website, prleads2profits.com. I'll say it one more time, prleads2profits.com. And if anyone is interested in my publicity services, those would be PR Leads Plus PR.com. So my brand name is PR Leads, and I play off of that. So it's either PR Leads to Profits for Facebook ads or PR Leads Plus for my matchmaking service to reporters and press releases and general consulting.
Awesome. So prleadstorprofits.com for Facebook, you said, and then prleadsplus.com for matchmaking. And is there any other websites you want to mention, or any other places people should go, or are those the two places where people need to be at?
Those are really the best two places. I've written a book called Reporters Are Looking for You, and the best place to buy that would be. And I've written 6 books, but that's probably the latest one and the best one that would help everyone right now.
Cool. And it sounds like you know, if someone is building a business, or if someone out there is, spending all this time on, making their website look just right, or if they're trying to make their, like, the best service they can provide, if they're not, if you guys out there aren't paying attention to traffic, if you guys aren't thinking a lot about how can I get more leads in their business, then you're probably working too hard. You're probably doing all these things and not really having a lot to show for it, because the internet is this crowded place, and there's all kinds of new platforms coming along all the time. LinkedIn, Snapchat, who knows what the next thing will be a year from now. And so you guys always need to be getting traffic coming to your site, having these leads coming to your site. So I hope that you paid a lot of attention to what Dan had to say today, as far as figure out what's something that's something really hot, a really helpful small gift you can give people for this lead magnet, to give them something like 10 tips on whatever, 10 tips to save your marriage. Make this lead magnet have a landing page. Dan likes lead pages for that. And then once you have that landing page in place, go on Facebook, make this fan page, do this boosted post, and try these different things. Try this different targeting, and try these different videos, and try these different ads, and do all this testing and tweaking, so that you can inch yourself closer to what people want. That way you can get them to come to your website. And if this all sounds good, whether you want to talk to Dan and get some strategy and then implement yourself, or if you say, I'm not much of a technical person, let me just have Dan show up and do it for me, then you should check out Dan's websites, prleadstorprofits.com, prleadsplus.com, and then his book is, or one of his 6 books is, Reporters Are Looking for You. So Dan, thanks for hopping on the show, and thanks for telling us about the powerful stuff that we all need to know, and keeping it cutting edge and up to date, but also simple. So I really appreciate that advice and you. So thanks for coming on the show.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Warning: if you use self-hosted WordPress to run your blogs, landing pages, and websites, you're at major risk from out-of-date plugins and backdoor plugins. Wouldn't it be nice if you could log into one single area and see a quick list of all your websites? What if you could also see which websites were online or offline? Update all WordPress versions, plugins, and themes all in one click. Install one plugin onto 10 websites, or 10 plugins onto 100 websites. One-click log into your sites without any passwords, and a whole lot more. Go right now to websiteremote.com/trial to claim your 99-cent trial right now.